Well, so it was 28 judges, about 150 submissions.
Okay.
So I think each judge.
Yeah, I had
probably
4 rounds. First was like 8 sours and like 7 Mars and Oktoberfest,
Okay.
and then like 6 hazy IPAs. So quick math, that's 21. And then my medal round was lagers, which there was 4 of those.
Okay.
So that's, 25 beers?
That you drank?
Yeah, little
One
toast.
day?
little sippies.
Matt
sippies.
Johnson? Oh, I'm just
25 beers.
That's
And I
impressive.
couldn't untap any of them because I had no idea what any of them were.
That's right.
You
that's
ever
right.
see Beer Fest?
Oh, yeah.
That's
for sure.
basically what it. No, I'm just
That's right. Well, what a perfect introduction. I'm here with 2 of my pals from Phoenix Magazine.
That's right.
Guys, thanks for joining. Cheers.
We're all drinking the same beer.
All got the same beer, which is
The Insufficient Funds Fresh Hop IPA
From Goldwater
right here
Brewing.
in Goldwater. So
Yes.
for those of you who are watching, we are in the Goldwater Brewing Gold Mine,
Yes.
which is hasn't been open in a while. They're working on reopening it for private events, but not quite open to the public. But it's a really cool space that used to be a shooting range at the old Mandel's gun club here in Old Town Scottsdale.
if the camera if you could see up there a little bit, you
Yeah.
could see the
Well,
sign.
we'll get some B-roll or something, but
I already selfied in front of that sign, so I'll put that out.
yeah, this is a kind of a historic location for Old Town Scottsdale. It used to be this, Mandel's shooting supplies and gun range, and when Goldwater took over the building, this basement was just going to be filled in or closed up or whatever, and they took over the space to use it for their lagering tanks, to use it for their barrel age program, and it used to be a little tap room. It's just a cool space down here.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be down here again.
Me too.
It's been a while.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
a place that I always told people, like, if you come, like, here's a good brewery, but if you want the coolest tap room, like, I've ever been to, like,
Yeah.
regardless of state, it's this place right here. I love
Yeah.
this spot. Yeah.
So I'm excited for them to kind of reopen it for at least for private events. I know they're going to try to do some kind of Halloween thing down here next month.
Oh, nice.
So it's a cool space.
Yeah, Dylan, the owner, said it's open for private events now. So
Yeah.
anyone who's looking to host a small gathering, and just call up Dylan at Goldwater and he'll hook it up. So quick plug for them.
And his personal phone number is
867-5309.
I feel like you missed a number in there.
Did I?
No. You know. Well, Johann and Matt from Phoenix Magazine, thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
too.
for having us,
Yeah.
and thanks for allowing us to kind of copy what you do and what we do, because we review beers on our social media channels and our podcasts. And I've listened to you for years, and so I've learned a ton.
that, man.
So a lot of my knowledge when we approach some of these breweries is based on listening to you. So
Man, that
like
just
you're,
made my day.
you know,
Thank you.
you're like what is that, like the GOAT? Is that?
Oh.
Are you the godfather of Arizona beer podcasting?
Hey, there's a reason I wanted to show you these tubes down here.
There you go.
No, I appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. And I think the first time you and I connected was for the Haka Shakalaka.
Yeah, Flying Bassett.
Yeah.
Man, big party there that night.
That
was a great party.
Yes. That was a good time. And so I appreciate you guys coming out and covering that. And beer did really well. So, and I think there's still some shirts available too. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Love that. I love
The shirts didn't sell as fast as the beers did. So,
That's a shame too, because that's a great beer. Flying Bassett is one of those that's really sneakily
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
That I don't think gets a lot of like pub that some of the bigger or more. What are the cool kid breweries that
For sure.
some breweries refer to? We're not the cool kids, but Flying Bassett, I think, is one of those that maybe it's location, but it's a fantastic spot in there. And they did food when they first opened. I don't think they do it anymore, but the food was really good. So I don't know if they bring that back at any point. I hope they do, because going there for dinner and just a wide variety of beers was a great night.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Like Josh is really so I did an episode way back with Rob from Flying Bassett, and it was kind of the old school. Like I think he came from BJ's and, or Rock Bond, one of those bigger ones. So it was kind of the old style of breweries, right? And there were a lot of it. You would have liked a lot of the malty way, you know. And he had some really good beers. I think that they got I think they were underrated anyways. But then when Josh took over and the beers he started making, like holy shit, like this is next level, you know. Yeah, no, and that's what I enjoy about you guys is you guys do a really great job of like covering the scene and you get it, you know it, you know, and you are representing everybody, you know, not just like I'm representing these guys because then people think I'm cool, you know. We know you're cool.
we definitely do our best, and you know, obviously you guys produce a magazine too. Like you only have so much space, so you can't always get everybody, but there's a healthy amount of us on the Phoenix Magazine staff that are major beer fanatics, and so I think there's a lot of, you know, selfish sort of motivation to cover as much beer as we can, but also, you know, we have such a great community here, and it's such a big part of Phoenix's, you know, food and beverage scene that it doesn't make sense for us not to do it. So, you know, for selfish reasons, we like to go to the breweries and drink good beer and talk about it. And for the community, like, you know, we have world-class breweries and we only are getting more. And so we just love being a part of it. And so I'm glad we got connected with you too, just because, like, I mean, you're an icon out here, bro.
Oh, man, this is the best. This is like my favorite episode I've ever done, man. This is great.
We're just heaping praise on Eric the entire episode.
I knew that's what like, I gave them a script before. Like, I'm not doing it unless you guys really hype me up.
Wait, let me check my phone here. What were we supposed to say next, Johann? Back to Bill and what Johann was saying is you meet really authentic people here in this business.
For sure.
Like, all these brewers have families, or they grew up here, or they're like second or third generation Arizonans. You don't really meet that in a whole lot of other industries. And that's what's really unique, I think, about a brewery experience is the people who run them really care about the local community, and the people who their customers aren't going to be, you know, it's not like a Tempe or a Scottsdale nightclub atmosphere in a brewery. Like, no one's ever getting into a fight or getting kicked out. Like, there's a reason there's no bouncers outside of like Goldwater Brewing, right?
Yeah.
You know,
you don't even hear arguments.
No,
really. Like maybe something about Star Wars.
Yeah, maybe sports arguments, but I always
Fun
win those
stuff.
over Johann anyways. So.
Well, you know a lot more about sports than I do. No, and actually, to your point, this is one of the things I like about Goldwater is, you know, I guess it was this year's Arizona Beer Week, we did an interview with Dylan from here, one of the owners, and he was telling us the story about how his dad like homebrewed for 30 years and kind of taught, you know, his two sons how to brew, and it just kind of became this like family passion, and so they opened a brewery together, and now it's like one of the bigger, more well-known breweries in the state, and like it's just such a cool story that a family does that, and like, you know, family is notorious for being hard to go into business with sometimes. And so the fact that they've been able to do it successfully, that they're just growing even more. I know they're working on another tap room in Tempe. Like it's just so cool to see that. And like, that's such a part of how the community is. Like it really is like kind of a family atmosphere. You don't get into fights at breweries or arguments at breweries because everybody's just there enjoying beer. Like you check all of your controversial ideas at the door, and I love that about it, and that you could see that within the industry too. You know, all the collaborations, the bigger breweries that help the smaller breweries that you know, they give them brew space if they need it or whatever. Like everybody just works together, and you could open a brewery across the street from a brewery, across the street from another brewery, and there's like never a worry about like competition.
It adds value.
Totally.
Right? Creates a destination. Totally. Yeah. So, let's back up a little bit, right? So, Matt, let's start with you. Where are you from?
Originally from Oregon, but I've lived here now for about 26 years. So I consider myself an Arizonan way more than ever. Oregon, I'd never go back. I'll never leave here, you know? And then started in TV news right out of college here. I've worked for Channel 3 and Channel 12 here locally for 15 years before starting at the magazine.
Doing
right when everything got locked down from the government, you know, for when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I switched careers on seemingly that week when everything shut down. So, and that was planned a couple months ahead.
Okay.
So when that rolled in, I've just been kind of making my own, creating my own job, you know, if you will. And
You're like the guy in the basement. They don't even know people. Like, does he work here?
exactly, yeah.
I get a paycheck.
So yeah, controlled. Like we do digital content. We've been doing podcasts ever since I started.
Were you one that
we
kind
try
of
to grow our social media and everything?
initiated
So
that? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so what did you do when you were in news before? Like before you?
So I
joined
produced.
New
I was
Times
behind
or
the
Phoenix Magazine?
scenes, sat at a computer and wrote scripts for anchors and
Okay.
cut their video. And I was the guy that you ever see in like where they take a shot of like the truck. I mean, we didn't have a truck because we had a control room. Whenever they take that shot, I'm the guy with the microphone hanging off his face and pushing the buttons and trying to tell the anchors where to go next.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Okay.
that sort of thing. So.
Yeah.
You ever see that show Newsroom? The Newsroom on HBO.
No, I never saw that one. I was a big
show.
fan of news radio back in the day, and that was kind
yeah.
of where I envisioned getting into like radio kind of stuff and like listening to like Jim Rome and Howard Stern growing up. I was kind of fascinated by that whole medium, and it just happened to be like maybe TV because you went to ASU and the big TV program and journalism program there. So that's I just kind of followed a path that way and ended up doing that for 15 years, working overnights, like the worst shift ever, producing the morning news. And I probably produced every single half hour of programming that Channel 12 does through my, I don't know, I was there 9 years maybe.
Wow.
So every single show that was news or, sports related, I had produced at least one of those. There's a 4:30 a.m. There's a Friday Night Fever at 11:30 p.m. on Fridays. There's Sports Tonight shows. There's all kinds of stuff on Channel 12. I produced every single one of those shows at some point in my career.
Wow. Dang.
And that's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, I could imagine. So what made you want to change? Like why, when you say career change, like to what? Like what was the goal?
So the goal was, I think, to get out of covering, because I was in sports and all of our local teams are pretty crappy for the most part. The Suns have kind of bounced
that
back.
comeback against the Raiders.
Yeah,
was,
the Cardinals, figure it out every once in a while, but it just got to be so depressing covering sports, and I like sports a lot. I grew up a huge sports fan, and just covering them really took the fun and passion out of actually enjoying sports.
Oh, interesting. Was it because they were bad, or because it was a job?
It was a job.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a job, and looking at, I had an opportunity to change careers and move to the magazine and go digital. And something that, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I consider myself, I live kind of online a lot, and it's not just for the job, it's kind of personal too. And I think there's a ton of people out there that do that, and it's where the industry's going. You know,
as the resident junior in this group, grow up new media, man, podcasts, social media, YouTube.
It's like newspaper died a while ago, radio kind of, TV is going that way.
But magazines are
digital
holding strong, man.
I know.
I love it. I love it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our magazine's holding strong. We get lots of compliments from other cities that do the same thing, and they're always amazed by, we crank out like a 250-page magazine. How do you do that? You know? I'm like, well, we have a pretty good team at Phoenix Mag and our sister publication, Phoenix Home and Garden. So we do, once every 2 months, bi-monthly. And, the pandemic changed that. It was monthly. Now it's bi-monthly. But our print publication stays pretty strong through everything.
Sure.
Through all the challenges and everything. And
I think there's something tactile about it. People like, you can attest to this. People like having that. You can go on Google and search, restaurants to visit in Phoenix, and whoever has the best SEO is going to be at the top of the list, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a magazine, it's editorial, so it's like opinionated, but you got like a hard copy. Like we had an issue earlier this year that was the 101 best dishes in the Valley, and it's like that's a shopping list for restaurants to visit.
For sure.
That you can use for 2 years. Like it'll sit on your coffee
I won't
table
throw
or
that
whatever,
away.
and
Like, I
you'll
will
never
not
throw it
throw it
away
away.
because you need an idea for where to go to dinner. There it is, and it's easier.
Where are you in checking off? Are you up to 101 yet?
God, no. I've probably checked off maybe like 15 of them, man.
Well, I checked them off when we did our Dish Fest in February. We did an event around that issue and around that feature story, and it really
We had about
it was
30
one
of
of the
those
first
restaurants
events
there,
that
yeah.
it kind of returned
Okay.
from people kind of staying at home and trying to stay away from crowds. And we weren't sure kind of how that was going to be received, but man, people really loved it and got
Yeah.
into it, and we had a huge crowd for that. And then, like you saw, you were at our Best Fest in
Yep.
August. Huge crowd for that too. Like
For sure.
people love events. People love coming to fellowship, and that's what breweries are great at. And
Yep.
that's what we're hoping to accomplish with our events too. That
Yeah.
kind of build off of what we do on the print side and digital side. Is now we're getting all of our readers and friends together to celebrate things that we write about, things that we podcast about.
I like that. Right? Because you guys are creating this, this, I guess, rich experience of all these different things, right? Like, you can because you can find things online, right? I can find that recipe quicker, right? My wife's like, what's that restaurant? She's looking. I'm like, I can find it quick. But this is, you want to disengage from this. Picking up a magazine is that. It's like, man, I need to put down my phone. I need to get away from screens. It gives you the same information, but in
Totally.
a completely contrasting
Get away from
experience.
living online so much and get out and get some fresh air and come out to the craft beer awards and festival, right? I'm just going to plug and I'm going to plug and I'm going to compliment Eric and then I'm going to plug some more.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
looking
and-
like, man, this is 4 hours of compliments and plugs. This is great.
For me, it was I started at Phoenix Magazine in January, and my role is to put on all our events. And so that's my background is event production and marketing. And so for me, it was like, how do I take, the editorial stuff we're putting into the magazine and then bring it to life and create an experience around it.
Yeah.
And that's been a really fun project because the audience is there already. And so it's like, and the recognition from the vendors of like, oh, this is a Phoenix Magazine event. We know who they are and what they do. And
For
so
sure.
that Dish Fest was like our first big event that I kind of got my hands into, and it was just super awesome. Like everybody had a great time, and the vendors had a good time. That's always really important for me too. You can make the crowds happy, but if your vendors hate it, you don't have an event the next year.
For sure. Absolutely.
And so we did that, had a blast. We did our Best Fest, had a blast. And so, doing this beer festival coming up in October, like it just makes sense. And I'm super excited about it. We've had such great support from the community, from the guild, from you. And so, the sky's the limit at that point, we put on the first year, have a good time. It's only going to grow from there. And, we just did the judging for the awards. Great turnout of judges, great turnout of, beer submissions.
Yeah.
And so, we're kind of looking at this like kind of staple event in the community, in the beer community, but also in the state of like, the GABF of Arizona. Like that's what we're really going for. And I think we got the ingredients for it, man.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
it's
some
so
other
exciting.
states that do it really well. Oregon is kind of what we've modeled our competition after and try to build off Great American Beer Fest, same time frame at least. That all these breweries that are submitting for that, which is the World Cup of beer, essentially. The Super Bowl.
Without being the beer world.
You might, are we bleeping things like Super Bowl, lowercase super,
Super Bowl.
the super pint of beer festivals. But
See, this is where my lack of knowledge and experience that comes in, right? You guys know to like not say certain things. I don't know. Like I just say whatever. I probably have so many copyright issues, but
Well, until you get a cease and desist, you have nothing to worry about,
Yeah.
man.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking to the guy at Santan Gardens the other day, and he was telling me a story about getting a friendly phone call, not really a cease and desist, which some breweries around we've learned those stories that they get those for beer names. And he was telling, he's like, that's a story not a lot of people know. It was they have a beer called Sky Harbor on tap at their Gardens location, which is where they do the distilling. And he said it was originally called 1920 lager. I don't know if you remember those cans. I Googled it and it came up, and I kind of remember that.
Was it like black and
Yeah,
grayish?
and they had like an old kind of black and white picture of the city of Chandler. It was to celebrate when they were incorporated, but he said the brewery called Distill, I think it's out of Oregon or maybe Colorado.
Yeah.
They called them up, friendly brewery. Hey, we we've been calling our stout that for a while, 1920, because
Yeah.
it's the end of Prohibition or maybe beginning. I forget my history.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, something to do with
I'm
Prohibition.
not editing
so-
any of this, Matt. This is all going.
Well, usually we have our phones and our computers all dedicated to
right?
recording, and I can never Google things during our episodes. So when we say, like, we had our editor Craig on a couple of our beer reviews, and he was bringing up these questions like, "Oh, that's the oldest brewery in Arizona, isn't it?" I'm like, "Why are you asking us the questions? We're supposed to be interviewing you and we would be like, "Yeah, that's right. We'll just update it in the show notes later." So
We'll just fix it in post.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah,
those
always.
Famous
kind of
last words.
copyright.
Exactly.
Those copyright stories are always entertaining. I like
Yeah.
getting those from the because every brewery has a story to tell about that.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are hoping, right? Like I know Matt from BRI wants to get a cease and desist for the Easy E beer for 4.8 OG.
Ooh,
Yeah. But
I didn't realize that. Okay, so that he's going for that on that because it's been named that for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more the image because it's Easy E's face like
Right.
on the can.
Oh
so-
yeah.
But maybe
The,
it's
I feel like the big story or the big example of this that we all maybe remember is when Keystone changed their labeling
yeah.
to just Stone,
Yeah.
and that big old David and Goliath
Yeah.
between Stone Brewing and was it
Stone
Coors
cashed in on
Miller?
that. They won their lawsuit on that.
Yeah.
And, they got what they wanted. It took years and lots of fighting, but they won that.
and then they sold out.
Yeah. now they're
sold.
Sapporo.
Ooh, yeah. Right.
Ooh, hey Jinx,
All right.
man, you owe me a beer.
Actually, I'm kind of low, but I got to.
Let's talk about this real quick.
Well, yeah.
'cause this is really tasty.
This is fantastic.
It's
This-
my first fresh hop IPA.
It's
I've
fresh
never
hop
had
season,
I've
which is
never had
just a
one.
great season.
I
Kind of
love
a
it,
bad
yeah.
time for the beer fridge to be too full from
sure.
beer judging last weekend because I can't go out and collect these fresh hop IPAs right now, but we can come here and just get one on draft. So
For sure.
I guess that makes up for it.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's the Insufficient Funds here at Goldwater, and I'm not usually a big IPA drinker. I like them. I'll drink them. I'll try them, but it's not the style I reach for.
Sure.
You know. But this is really good, man. It's
What hop did he say it was?
The Amarillo.
Amarillo hops. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I need to change my battery in my camera, so it's a perfect time for me to go get
Good
another
pause.
perfect.
one.
You guys have such good radio voices. You know, both of you.
He does have a good radio voice.
Yeah.
know
Do I
so.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
do.
the guy at Walter Station said I sound like Joe Buck.
Ah,
And
okay.
I was like, I like Joe Buck. I know some of my friends may be really mad when they hear that, but
Hey
'cause they
man,
don't like
I
him?
was listening to our podcast the other day because I like to check to see if I sound like an idiot, and my wife was like, "Is that Matt?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "He's got a nice voice.
That's
You got a
good.
good
You know,
voice, man."
You guys do the same thing where you listen to yourselves back and you're like, man, I can't stand my voice, right?
Yeah.
I've learned to appreciate it more and more over the years. I don't know if I will fully ever like my voice, but people keep saying they like it, so
No.
I'll keep going with it. It's not like I can change it.
Sure.
So.
No.
It's been
good.
it's been a minute since we've but I mean Eric Walters' voice.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like silky,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
Right.
Silky.
I like to listen to the Tap That AZ podcast while I'm shooting hoops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out in the driveway.
Nice.
So it's just, I don't know what it is, but it's almost like when you have a beer, say like you have a beer on the beach, you just remember that, or
Yeah.
you have a really good beer after
Camping.
camping beers are
camping
always
beers are great.
nostalgic, or like cleaning out the garage or something.
What's your go-to camping beer?
Oh man, that's a good one.
I
You're
have one.
assuming he camps.
I'm
right?
assuming.
I don't camp.
No.
But like if I
If you had to sit by a campfire.
Yeah, I like sitting by campfires.
Or
I
like
like
a fire pit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
See, I
think
mean,
like December 15th, like December 27th. It's like 48 degrees outside.
all right.
It's dark, stars above you. What are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking like a sour, like a good like wild ale or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm not into stouts and stuff like
Okay.
that, right?
No.
So, and I've probably been drinking Miller Lights all day, right? so,
like
so
it.
I would say like a good, I'd say Jester King, right? Because I like Jester
Yeah,
King.
yeah,
And
yeah.
There's not maybe
Iconic,
Arizona
man.
Wilderness, right? Arizona
Yeah.
Wilderness is doing some spontaneous stuff. So, yeah, that's like me. If I want to sit down and really enjoy something, I don't really do the barrel aged stouts and stuff like that. So for me,
Okay.
it's like a
Yeah.
wild ale. Yeah.
Do we get Jester King beers out here?
We did.
Because they're out of Austin, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did for a
bit,
while.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they disappeared, right?
Yeah, I still don't see them on shelves. I don't know if they've been like distributed
Gotcha.
again, but yeah, dude, I love their stuff.
Yeah.
And then going
That's
to
good
their
stuff.
place is like eye-opening.
That place
man.
is pretty cool because it's
Yeah.
like just ranch with like
Yeah.
barns and stuff, and it's a really cool setup. And you really have to be into that kind of beer, that wild ale that you talked about, because it might have like one IPA on the menu, and
Yeah.
everything else is wildly fermented and soured and everything.
Just sitting out on the ranch, probably.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What's your go-to?
Oh, barrel aged stout. I mean, I keep
Any specific
many.
one?
Depends if there's a friend over, then we crack open like a Goose Island.
Okay, something that's been
Bourbon
sitting.
County.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 of those right now. I do
I got a
have.
buddy who has one from like every year for the last like 8 years, and like
Dang.
we like go through a cycle where we like try the oldest
'em.
one he has, and then the
That's
next
always
year
fun,
We have
yeah.
another one, and the next year we have
They had a really bad year. I want to say it was like 2012, where I think they ended up like dumping stuff, and
That's
It
right.
was a really bad year for
Yeah.
it. Other than that, like locally, it's great because these breweries like Goldwater, they release Flannel Buddies on Black Friday. I always get a bunch of those and keep those. Those never really stay in the fridge for very long, just because I drink them a lot. And like the Oso Bananarchy too.
Ooh,
Try
yeah.
to load up on those. I do have one left from last year.
I still
that
have a
I'm waiting.
Stroop waffle from last year.
Yeah.
I love me some Stroop waffle. My campfire beer is the Pie Hole Porter. from
Oh,
Historic.
that's a good one. That is a good one.
That's super nostalgic for me. It's
Yeah.
just like I used to go camping and by myself back before I got married, and just grab a 6-pack of Pie Hole and just sip by the fire, doing some night photography while just sipping on some.
They
Pie
have
Hole
their
Porter,
pumpkin
man.
pie hole porter out now, and
I
I
like
had
it.
one of those the other night. Like I've been big on pumpkin beers in the last week or two.
I like it, but
Really
it's not.
good.
It's not for me. It's not as good. Like the pumpkin flavor isn't as strong as I kind of want it to be.
They may have changed that because the one I poured, and I kind of agree with you. In previous years they may have been that way, but this year's batch overloaded with pumpkin.
Okay.
I got a lot of pumpkin out of that.
They must have gotten that feedback then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Or
that.
he got the can full of all the pumpkin.
Oh, it was
yeah.
it was a can after beer judging last weekend, so it may have
Nice.
been like the
I
freshest
think I have.
one.
I think I have one sitting in my
Yeah.
fridge somewhere. I
A
might
friend of
have
mine
to-
asked, like, "Where'd you get that? I haven't seen it." I'm like, "Beer judging, dude. Come on."
Yeah. Where have you been?
You bring in a whole card of the beer they gave to you.
Yeah.
Lucky. I could have been there. But
Next year, man.
Next year.
We're
for
not.
Sure.
We're not stopping anytime
Yeah,
soon.
and,
love it.
I think a lot of those submissions that were left over are going to be poured at the festival in October. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think we might also end up doing, working with the guild on doing like throughout the year, doing specific styles, like a one-off judging of like
Sure.
one style with a handful of submissions.
Like a
just
summer
to kinda,
ale for
just to kind
summer,
of keep
yeah.
keep the energy around that sort of feedback
Yeah.
competition kind of thing going, so that it leads to everybody's getting ready to submit to GABF. They're also submitting to ACBA.
ACBA.
And then,
he brings up a good point because we obviously judged a lot of these fall beers that we're not going to have if we do it in the spring, we're not going to have an Oktoberfest or Marzen category. It'll be something
Yeah.
else that is spring related.
Yeah, I mean, spring is a good time to judge, some of the summer beers coming up. If you do it a little earlier, too, you get some of those heavier, like, stouts and porters that come out in the winter. Because I know there were a few of those, but that was probably one of the smaller categories this time was the barrel-aged stouts. So
yeah.
it'd be nice to give those an opportunity to shine throughout the year, too.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I moved here in 07, and just when I started getting into craft beer,
I graduated high school in 07.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I think I had my first kid in 07, so I'm way older.
I just needed to establish that. Real
Yeah.
quick,
Thanks. I appreciate.
I was still born in the 80s, though. I made it in. I slipped in right at the end of the 80s.
Tail end. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk if we accept them or not.
Yeah.
That's right.
But there hasn't been a great media representation of local beer, right? You hear, you get a story in this, publication about Arizona Wilderness or something about Huss, but like what you guys are doing, I think it's fantastic. So,
well, it's real because we go out and we drink them, and we know these breweries, and we've had them, so we know what we like and what we don't like, and so we can report on that. Not, there was I think it was the AZ family put out this silly digital article that, and it happens in news. You aggregate content from different sources, and you get, crazy email studies, and you go with it and report on it. But they put out this list of like the top rated breweries in Arizona that everyone goofed on.
Oh yeah.
It was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And it was saying like, I mean, some of these brewers hadn't been in existence in like 3 or 4 years, and they were on this silly list. I'm like,
Sonoran Brewing was on there.
Yeah.
Nothing against like.
Can't
but
you
they
check?
make one beer,
Do you have
right?
any beer drinking people at the office that can see this article and be like, this is a BS article here?
Right. Yeah. Well, no, you're right. Like you guys are out there and you're experiencing and you're getting yourself like you're being part of the community. What kind of caused that direction with Phoenix Magazine, right? To kind of focus on the beer side of things.
Our editor Craig and his team of writers and other editors, they've done a great job throughout the years of what we call like service journalism, where it's restaurant focused, it's traveling, it's great hikes and stuff like that, and we continue that. Obviously, there just hadn't been any kind of beer drinking fans like me and Johann up until this point. I mean, there's a couple on the staff that do like it, but
not fanatics like
they're more of like, hey, I want a cocktail. So we the coverage that we've given to cocktail bars and stuff at or restaurants and that sort of thing has kind of outweighed what we've given to breweries.
Sure.
And so we've kind of taken that and lent our expertise and tried to gain expertise along the way.
I'm doing air quotes around expertise.
So I like it
Assuming
because
my
I
expertise.
like Johann was saying the other day, like we were at Huss doing an interview, their head brewer, Matt Johnson, that episode's out now. They were looking at us like, hey, you guys, we recognize what you're doing. And, like the guy from Santan is like, yeah, I listened to all your episodes and you guys are doing a great job. So we're getting that kind of feedback, and we appreciate that they appreciate what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, it's a genuine love for the industry and a genuine love for the product. Like, I really love beer. And so when I started at the magazine and there was this opportunity to cover the beer community, at least digitally, and now we have it in the magazine too. It was just like, here's a passion of mine, and I get to go and talk about it, once or twice a week at a brewery, and get to know the people, like the community, even more. The guys here at Goldwater, most of them recognize me when I come in because I used to come in so often when I lived right down the street, but now it's like the brewers, the owners, like we're starting to be recognized as a part of that community, and I think that's the thing that I really wanted to make sure we accomplished when we put on this beer festival that we're doing, is not just like, oh, here's a company that's putting on an event and I guess we're going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's like they're part of our community. They're integrated. They're covering us, but they're also drinking our beer, and they're friends of ours. And like, that's been my favorite part of the whole thing, is like people know that we genuinely want to be part of this community.
For sure.
It's not just
exploitive on a hot topic type
totally,
of
100%.
Yeah.
And
I get
think
that
I
too.
started drinking. I started really getting into craft beer here in 2012, 2013 was like first time I went to Goldwater, or first time I went to Arizona Wilderness and Huss, their original tap room, and Fate's original tap room, and like all these breweries that are now like the big dogs.
Yeah.
I've been drinking them since day one, really, and to see all these other ones like
Wait, when did you graduate again? I'm trying to do.
I'm like, Mr.
Was that
Braggy.
legal?
I graduated high school in 2007.
Oh yeah, okay.
You're good. Carry on.
Yeah. I follow the rules, man. But yeah, it's just like it's fun to become part of that community without necessarily having to be expert brewer.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's what I like
Yeah.
about Eric's podcast is he's a lot like us. Like we talk to brewers until you're like blue in the face, and you still probably could not ever brew a beer by yourself, right?
No.
You have no idea. I'm so confused by the process.
Oh, for sure.
I listen to you, and I'm like, he is just like me.
There's
When they start talking
water
about
boiling, at some point.
and mash tun and using rice and stuff, I'm like, rice? What? I cook with that. Like, what's that? The whole brewing process just makes no sense to me.
My,
sure.
my
Yeah.
full education in that is based solely on tours of like commercial breweries.
Yeah.
I went to St. Louis and did the tour of Budweiser, of
that'd
Anheuser-Busch
be pretty
there.
cool. Yeah.
And they really go through the process. They talk about how they started mixing rice with grains because there's a cost part of that,
Sure.
and there's
Yeah.
a production level part of that. You know, you're producing 2 million liters of beer a day.
Yeah.
You know, if you'd only use grain, then nobody's eating bread anywhere in the Western Hemisphere. So like, you know, what I'm saying? So like, it's like one of those things where, but you know, yeah, it's biochemistry. Like beer brewing is literally biochemistry, and so some of these brewers, you know, they're bearded, they kind of look like hippies and stuff, but man, these guys are smart. They understand biology. They understand
very much. Yeah.
They understand bacteria and the way yeast operates and the way yeast, like all the biology behind it. It's scientific, right? And so that's why so many brewers are engineers by trade. Sure. Because it's a real science, and like you got to do it to learn it. Otherwise, like
and they're kind of like the fun nerd, you know, like
For
you
sure.
have like
100%.
the introvert nerd that might do accounting or something. You know,
Yeah.
it's the comptroller in your office. But like the brewer is like the fun nerd. Like he's so smart, he does all this great stuff. But at nighttime, he's out there slinging beers and drinking them, pouring them back just along with you. And that's what makes these guys so fun.
We did an episode with Josh Johnson over at Ranch Hand.
Yeah.
And I think it was him that was telling us that he brewed beer for a high school.
Yeah, when he was in
biology,
high school,
right? Biology or chemistry project or something.
Oh yeah.
And he brewed I was like, I mean,
that was his class project.
It's legal.
You didn't drink
It's
it, right?
legal. I
Apparently, in his district, like they were cool with it because it was like a farming community or something like that, and so they were a lot more like loose about what.
Well, I think there's a loophole. I think there's a loophole in homebrewing. You can consume homebrew beer if you're under 18, if you were part of the something like that. Somebody look that up.
Yeah, you can create it. There's a story I think out of Canada where like a teenager makes the greatest mead.
Really?
Like world, award-winning mead, and this kid is like 15. Because mead is just like fruit that you just like
fermented sugar.
Yeah, you let it sit in a
honey.
jar,
Honey.
right?
Yeah.
Honey. Yeah,
It's the oldest type of alcohol.
so it's
then.
like easy stuff. The ingredients he purchases completely legally and ends up creating the world's best mead.
And I think he can legally consume it.
Well,
because
he's in
he
Canada.
created it. Wow.
You know.
Which isn't even a real country anyways.
But yeah, I mean, I think the same thing as with Josh was he could create it,
Yeah.
but then he just at the end of the day he hands it to his chemistry teacher and gets an
Hell
A on,
yes.
on the grade.
That's bribery.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I beer is one of those things that it's like the perfect melding of social lubrication and scientific knowledge.
Well, there's so much connection to it, right? There's so much that kind of goes. People supplement other things with craft beer. You know,
and listen, we humans have been brewing and distilling and fermenting longer than they've been farming.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like, you know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like, it's like, if anything is human nature, it's drinking beer.
It is
and
drinking
mead
beer
and
It
wine.
is, yeah. Well, that's what I love about it too, right? We talk about like the science of it, but then at its most basic form, it's just wild. It's bacteria consuming sugar and making alcohol. Like it's the most basic
sure.
thing.
That's why I love the whole Camp Cool Ship thing too. Like
For sure.
That's
Yeah.
such a cool project. And
Yeah, who knew? Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna collect yeast in the air, and it's gonna just come down and magically create our beer, our wild ale. It's a crazy
It's actually pretty.
Thing.
To me, it's very reassuring, right? Because if I ever get stranded in the wilderness and I can somehow survive, I can make alcohol.
Yeah.
Somehow, I need some sugar and something else. Yeah.
I just want to know what it was
would
like to
die
be
the
that
first
first,
day.
guy that walked by like a beehive and decided to consume the honey and did not know that it was fermented, and then got drunk off of it. Like I want to know what that was like to be the first human to get drunk.
They probably freaked out. They probably thought they were a witch. They probably killed him. Like, Johann, I don't think you want to go down that path, man.
And did that guy ever one day imagine that three guys would be sitting around microphones talking about the whole process?
In a
As
weird
a job.
in a weird basement that's used to be a shooting gallery.
Pretty sure somebody's died down here at some point, you know.
Somebody
There was like
with a vowel on their last name, right?
What does that mean? All right, guys, before we wrap this thing up, we got to talk about the festival, right? Well, first of all, the voting for Best of Phoenix not only included the normal, best brewery, all
of the
this
Valley,
stuff. What did I say?
It's Best of Phoenix. Different brand. That's okay,
Best
though.
of the Valley,
That's
yes.
okay,
Yeah, the Best of Phoenix award doesn't count for anything, but Best of the Valley holds so much more.
Matt's throwing shade. I'm trying to be diplomatic.
That's
here.
why I wanted to bring it up to clear the air. But yeah, so the Best of the Valley.
Yeah.
You guys added something this year, like
right.
not just like best beer, but like best IPA, double IPA, like the whole
big category.
Yeah.
We had, I initially started that as 50 different categories and just kind of looked for submissions. And the way it works is it's a month-long submit nominees, and then we whittle it down like top 10 nominees in each category. So there's some that were like an Irish Red or something that maybe one or two, those kind of beers, a Dunkel, didn't really get any nominees, but IPAs, hazy IPAs, stouts. So we had about 40 categories that ended up on the ballot. Your beer won. Clap it up. Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah.
Eric's also been a Best of the Valley podcast winner too. Reader's choice. So we allow our readers to vote on it.
Does
the public to vote on it.
Does that count more than if Craig chooses me?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. I mean, behind the scenes, it's about 300,000 votes getting cast on that thing.
Really?
So you are getting that, recognition by our readers and the public out there in Phoenix that, is voting from anywhere from best pizza to best podcast to best sports TV show, whatever.
Yeah. So you're trying to tell me all 300 unanimous decision?
Dude, you get hundreds of votes, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, three.
What's so funny is the guy who won best podcast this past year. I can't remember what his name is. He's a news guy. And so I'm like, what is this? And I listened to it, and it was funny. They said, oh, we won, Best of the Valley. We also won, 2020 or whatever it was. And they're like, what happened in 2021? Like, it must have been a fluke. I'm like, I want to call in and say, it was a fluke. But
the Tap That AZ Army came to the rescue.
The street team. Yeah, I'm putting together a street team right now.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. A gang.
But no, so you guys, that was really cool to see people voting for specific types of beers.
Yeah, man.
Now, is that related to the festival itself as well?
It is. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have our Best of the Valley issue that came out. Was it August? September?
Yeah, end of August. Newsstands was September 7, I think.
Okay. Yeah, and so we publish our Best of the Valley issue, which had all of those Reader's Choice, but we actually saved the beer awards portion of it, like the beer part of it, for our beer issue that just came out
that's
earlier this month.
Yep.
And so, it was all part of that. It was the beer issue, and then that's where we kind of really announced and pushed our beer festival. So while the Arizona Craft Beer Awards are the professionally judged portion of it, obviously there's some recognition in the festival and in the issue of our Reader's Choice ones.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
we
think
wanted to make it, sort of democratic in that way as well.
One of your episodes that you did for a hell of the Aurora Red.
Oh, yeah.
That won a Best of the Valley Reader's Choice. vote.
Heck yeah.
So that that was fun to see, and things like like your Scottsdale Blondes and Papago Orange Blossom. There's a popularity contest at the end of the day.
Sure.
Bonehouse won Best
Bonehouse
Helles.
won,
Yep.
and
they're not the big, they're not a huge brewery, but they won Best Helles, which
Yeah.
is not a small category.
Sure.
There's a
yeah,
lot
it'll
of
be
people-
interesting to see how that matches up with what our beer judges thought.
Totally.
Yeah.
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 What gets a gold medal in the inaugural ACBA Fest?
I'm excited for that. So, easy to remember. It's on my wife's birthday. Thanks a lot. I had to have that conversation.
You're welcome.
October 22nd.
I'll make sure to get you VIP tickets.
Please. Thank you.
You're taking her out for her birthday. I mean, what's a complaint? Like, hey, we're gonna go hang out with friends.
That's what I
mean,
said.
and
yeah.
drink
That's
beer.
what I said. Yeah. I'm like, you get to sell merch. Like, it'll be cool. Well, so what's going on? Like, what is happening? What's the event going to be like for somebody that's going to go?
Yeah, so it's October 22nd. It's at a fairly new venue that just opened this year. So over at the State Farm Cardinal Stadium in
Okay.
Glendale, they took their Great Lawn, which is where they do all their big tailgating,
Yeah.
and they fenced it in.
Okay.
And then they built this really cool building with a open patio on the second floor, and then another open patio on the third floor. Really, really nice lawn, huge, tons of parking, right in the shadow of the stadium.
Nice.
Just a really cool space. I was actually there this morning doing a walkthrough for the event, and it's just going to be a really good time. There's going to be, we're hoping for at least 40 breweries, bunch of food trucks, some awesome other vendors. If you were at our Best Fest, our friend from Primitive Glassware is going to be there. I don't know if you remember those really crazy cups. They were over by Cider Core.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to be there.
Nice.
I have a couple of those, and they're fantastic
Yeah.
to drink out
Yeah.
of.
So
They're-
he'll be there. It's going to be
I mean,
awesome.
They're
And then
just
we're
a
doing
great venue, great vessel for beer, great venue for
Totally.
Beer Fest.
And then the I believe it's the Thursday before that, we're going to have a sort of award ceremony.
Okay.
Pretty limited seating, but it'll be available to the public to some degree. That's where we're going to give out the awards.
Okay.
I'm really excited. The medals that we're getting made are locally made.
Nice.
The awards we're giving out outside of that are also locally made. So it's a true Arizona bred beer competition, man. Like,
I love it.
through and through. We're not getting our medals from overseas or whatever. It's all right here.
Yeah.
All the judges were local. All the breweries are local. It's going to be just a really fun time.
I dig it. So by the time the festival comes around, people will have won their awards, right? So at the actual event itself, is there anything awards related? Like, I'm sure breweries be displaying their you know, are they?
Yeah, we don't want to take a lot of time or attention away from people just going around and enjoying
Sure.
the beer. So that's what the awards ceremony is for, is to give those awards out. So the beer festival is just going to be sort of the after party for that.
Yeah.
The breweries will hopefully have their medals there to show that they were the winners for that, or at least a certificate that we'll give them. But yeah, it's just it's a place where you can go. Our tagline is celebrate the best brews that Arizona has to offer.
I like it.
Yeah, man.
So it's a great spot. Anyone who's been out to a Cardinals game knows that great lawn, and you're going to have grass under your feet. You're going to have, sunshine in your hair,
Plenty.
beer in your hand.
And here's the other thing, too, that I'm very proud of. I've been to a lot of beer festivals, and I'm always almost aching for somewhere to sit.
Ah, sure.
This festival will have tons of seating,
Okay. Nice.
tons of places to get off your feet for a second. The VIP tickets give you access to those covered patios in the building.
Nice. Okay.
So couches, shade, comfort.
Real bathrooms, right?
Real bathrooms.
Real bathrooms.
No porta johns. I will say right now, this event will not have porta potties.
You hear that?
You're going to get real bathrooms that are going to be kept clean by our awesome friends at Insignia Events. It's going to be a great festival.
And it's a great spot because you have a ton of hotels around. So, make it a weekend, book a hotel, party with us from noon to 5 for VIP, 1 to 5 for general. And, go walk back to a hotel. And there's State 48 is over there at Westgate, and all kinds of great other drinking and dining venues over there. So there's plenty of space out there for the after party, and you don't have to drive home after a festival. If you just get a hotel. And Glendale, it's been a while. There hasn't been a whole lot of West Side activity, and there's so many great breweries out in the West Valley that I hope are appreciative of that we are bringing this event to that side of town, because honestly, and Johann will back me up, like working in the middle of town in the valley is very, very difficult. There's venues that get snatched up real quick, and but out on the west side, we have so much space out of that stadium, easy to park, easy to find, easy to get off the freeway. And
look, I know I live in Gilbert. I know that like driving out there can be a bit of a chore. So for anyone in the East Valley that's listening to this, the 202 now goes like under the south of South Mountain,
that's
loops
right.
all the way around. You can skip all of downtown and the whole Mad Max insanity that is the 10 between the airport and 75th Avenue or whatever.
Yep.
You could skip all that, easy freeway access, and like Matt said, grab a hotel room, make it a weekend, have a good time. It's going to be an awesome event. We're really excited about it.
Travel tips brought to you by Phoenix Magazine.
That's right. That's right.
Travel and adventure section. Check out the Phoenix app.
All right, so guys, once again, thank you for hanging out.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
This was
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. This is my first time down in the gold mine.
Are we gonna
cool
Are we
spot.
gonna go upstairs after this and try their mead barrel aged rye bock that they got
Oh,
upstairs?
wow. I don't even know.
Was that
most of those
left over
words.
from?
No, they just released it last week.
Oh, that's right. They were holding that.
Superstition Meadery, barrel aged rye bock. They also have a new porter called a Chocolate Eagle.
You want to
The Chocolate Eagle's been out for a while. The Pumpkin Alt beer is out right now,
Sounds really
and
good.
they do a great job. If you like pumpkin,
Yeah.
get that beer because it won't last long. People like that here at Goldwater.
So we're trying like 5 more beers on it, too?
Yeah.
Well, I can't. I have to go to the ballet
Yeah, I got to get
tonight,
going.
So.
Yeah, I got to get going myself. But I do want to taste one more thing, so we got to
right.
wrap this up. Guys,
All right.
thanks so much. And thank you
you.
guys for watching.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cuando se va de casa, triste me pongo.